Welcome along, everybody. This is an exciting day because we start to hear some of the wonderful work that our ITRC PhD bursary recipients have undertaken. This initiative was the first time we've run this, and so we're excited for our inaugural group of 4. Today we have 3 presenters, and then next Monday we have Jow, who is the 4th recipient. I'd like to, of course, kick off by acknowledging country and indeed celebrating country, coming to you from Gubby Gubby country, where it's putting on a show outside. It is absolutely glorious and distracting us from the work that we should be doing, I think, sometimes, but reminding us also to be hopeful and that, that life's pretty good, I think, for all of us. So look, without much further ado, I will kick off with our very first presenter. Now, Faval is going to be presenting, and her topic, which she will share with us, is Mexican Border Human Rights Defenders Storytelling Project. So without further ado, I hand over to Faval.
Okay, I've got a presentation, so shall I share it? Might just have to be a little bit patient with me. Is it all there?
Yes.
Yep. Great. So this is my presentation. My name is Faval, and I'm a PhD student at USC, and I was one of the very lucky people that was awarded the bursary from the ITRC last year. So just to start, I thought I would just briefly explain what my research is about. So for people that I haven't met, because I haven't met a lot of you. My research explores like the experiences of human rights defenders that work on the Mexican side of the US-Mexican border. So mostly in Tijuana and a little bit along across the border further inland. We've been using arts-based research methods such as visual arts and storytelling and other creative practices to help us understand their lived experiences, their challenges, their accomplishments, and any other issues or protections and things like that they might need. So, excuse me, I'm hoping that this research will sort of like add on to the research being done with human rights defenders around the world, and also expand like the methodological approaches being used in understanding their lived experiences as well. So the bursary has really helped significantly in helping me advance the information and share my research, because I got to travel to Europe and the Mediterranean present in 3 different conferences. I was able to share the research findings from 2 different projects within my broader research. So that the bursary provided the funding for me to be able to do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I thought I would go through where I went so that you have an understanding. So the first place I went was in Paris. It was a conference called Disparate Narratives, and Disparate Narrative Worlds, Crisis, Conflict, and the Possibility of Hope. It was at the American University of Paris, right near the Eiffel Tower. It was a really great experience. It helped me learn. It was connected to my research, but it was also mixing with academic people doing a lot of different narrative work. So it sort of broadened my perspectives on that, and obviously for myself, working with human rights defenders and using arts-based methods, the conference offered an important platform to share creative and critical approaches to representing lived experiences and to engage in the dialogue with people, as I said, doing really diverse things in social justice. So that was the first one. The second one, I went to the UK, and I was based in London and went out to Oxford for the second day of this conference, which was at St. Catherine's College, which is like, I guess, part of the broader Oxford college out there. So they had a conference called Shifting Borders. So that was a little bit closer to my area. I also learned a lot more about the movement of people around Europe and like the UK and stuff like that. So obviously most of all my research is in the Americas and Latin America. So it was really great to meet people and learn about what's happening in that area. And I also was asked to write a magazine article for their online magazine called Routed there, which the following week I spent in London. I was able to go to some exhibitions, the Tate Modern. There was quite a lot of stuff on migration and also the arts, like in promoting change and things like that. So during that week, I also wrote the article, which is up in the corner there, you can see, which is a small snippet from one of the papers that I wrote with my supervisors. And I also was able to attend some webinars that I probably wouldn't have attended if I was in Australia because of the time difference. And one in particular was like specifically with human rights defenders and protections for them. It was like a report over the last 10 years, and it was really interesting. And then my final conference was in Cyprus. So I was, this conference was at the University of Central Lancashire, which is actually located in an area called Pila in Cyprus, which is within the UN buffer zone. So if people don't really know what Cyprus is like, it's a divided country that half of it's Greek and half of it's Turkish. It's always been actually a country that I've been really interested in because of the, contested borderlands and the country not really being able to find a solution where they can share running their country. The university is actually in Pila, and Pila's, as I said, is in the UN buffered zone, and it's the only area on the whole island where the Turks and the Greeks actually live together. It was done really well, the conference, because we heard from like both Turk academics as well as like Greek. And we also traveled to the Turkish side on a couple of days as well. And I just met people from all over Europe doing borderlands studies. Again, I expanded my knowledge around contested borderlands within like especially Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, which was really, really interesting, and just making more contacts with people doing really, really interesting things. So it was great. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of my presentation, and I am extremely grateful and thankful for being awarded this bursary, because I would not have been able to do that. So I hope that is okay.
Great.
There we go. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And what an example, like a great example of impact and being invited to write a magazine and all the connections and networks that you made. Just well done. And it sounds like it was a transformative experience for yourself as well. Awesome. I just want to open it up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for Faval? Oh, hi, Catherine.
Hi, everyone. Hello from Denmark. Faval, I missed the first few minutes of your presentation, but what an amazing, number of presentations and experiences you've had. And as you already know, I'm very interested in Borderlands as well. You may have covered this early, but I'm guessing you particularly draw on the work of Gloria Anzaldúa in your work. Can you tell us more about how her theorization of Borderlands has really informed your work?
Yeah, I like discovered her by accident actually when I was doing some data analysis from the photo voice project that I ran with women, human rights defenders, and so she, for those who don't know, she was a Chicana woman, so which means she was like sort of part American Mexican woman, but she was initially from the borderlands of the US and Mexico. And she writes, like, I think I really aligned with the way she writes because she's such a creative and she connects the whole much deeper spiritual side of like understanding self and identity and the connection to borderlands. So not just a physical border, but psychological and like all of those different dynamics that impact like living and working in the borderlands. And I love, for me, because I've been going back and forth to Mexico so much, she writes very poetically, you know, flinging in and out of Spanish and English. And I just think it's really cool that someone like her is like held in high regard in academia, because I really connect with her work in that sense. So that's just a snippet, because obviously, as you know, Catherine, she goes in lots of little rabbit holes of areas of like borderland studies and what she calls mestiza consciousness, and like a lot of it's to do with your identity and also changing how you think and see about things so that you're able to change the space that you live in and have an impact. So that's how I understand it.
Margins as well, isn't it? I think that's really important. It's also from the margins as an important part of our work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love how Gloria weaves in Spanish, English, and some Indigenous languages and doesn't translate, so the reader has to do the work, which I think is really important. Yeah. Thanks so much, Faval. It's really exciting work.
Thanks, Catherine.
And Florin.
Yeah, no, just wanted to commend you on your presentation, how you absolutely beautifully blurred the borders between visual text and video. It was so beautiful to incorporate the videos. It made it so much more interesting and dynamic. So just absolutely beautiful way to present things. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Florin. That's great.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Faval. Wonderful to see such great impact being generated, and the smile on your face and your supervisor's face was a fantastic experience. So we'll move on to our second presenter this afternoon. So Pratiksha is with us, and Pratiksha is going to be presenting Decolonising Social Work with Nepali Women, which was her PhD. So I'll let you share your slides and tell us about it.
Thanks, Maria. I see so many people I haven't met, and it's sad that I couldn't meet you since I moved to Sydney after finishing my PhD in Sunshine Coast. And I submitted my PhD and got my results in September this year. So I'm really fresh in what I have done. Saying that, I'm very grateful. I was very grateful for the bursary that I received, yet I didn't have much of the opportunity to utilize it because I was trying to finish and complete my writing part, and I also had a few of the issues with my supervisor panel. So there was not a lot of things that I could do, but I do have some plans on how I'm going to use my bursary in coming years, in coming months. Saying that, since I haven't done much of the use of bursary, I think I will just present my PhD and how I plan to engage with the bursary in coming months. I don't think I need much of the presentation slides. I haven't prepared it. I had prepared it, but I think I'll just leave it. I don't have fabulous presentation like Faval. I was very impressed with that one. So in terms of my thesis, so it's social work with Nepali women, a decolonizing perspective. When I did my presentation, or when I was thinking about my thesis entirely, I was not taking any framework or any theoretical stance on how I'm guiding my research, since this was a new concept, and nothing has been done much about Nepali women from social work perspective in Nepal. And on top of that, when we are talking about, or when we have been talking about decolonizing debate in social work, a lot of the scholars and other researchers have come into the conclusion that decolonizing is a framework, which I'm against it, because it's not just a framework, it's a process on how we have done things, how we distinguish between what we have done in the past and how we can improve in the future. So it's a continuous process, it's an effort, it's an event. So that's how I have taken the stance of decolonizing in terms of my research. And in saying that, historically, religiously, politically, economically, Nepali women have been held down. They are just taken as the recipient, the supporter, but the times have changed. And as such, social work in Nepal has to change its pedagogy, has to change its practice framework. That was my standpoint. And with the interview with 16 female social workers in Nepal who have been practicing with Nepali women, including children, but I have focused on Nepali women. So they have said some very fabulous things about how they are working or how they are analyzing the situation of Nepali women, though progress have been made. And I'm not saying that progress has not been made. Yes, it has been made. Nepal has made significant progress in political scenario for women. We have 33% representation, but saying that most of the sphere in Nepali society, in Nepali economics, in Nepali political stance, women have been held down and they have not been given that privilege because of religious aspects and various cultural things, various cultural adages, various cultural assumptions have made women be on the sideline of the periphery of Nepali society. It's very androcentric, where control, where decision has always been made from men's perspective. They are the one who control, who decide for the things, and yet it is still happening. And since I am myself a Nepali woman and have been engaged with social work from my academic perspective, from my field education perspective in Nepal, I am one of the, I can say I was one of the participants itself, because I cross both the participants and the researchers' perspective. So in that stance, what my thesis really recognized that since decolonizing debate have inculcated the essence of cultural assimilation, that we need to respect, that we need to integrate cultural aspects of people, of local cultures and societal attitudes. I think, and my participants also voiced that, just saying that cultural assimilation or integration of culture and tradition won't help in the case of Nepali women, because culture itself has been dragging down women. And that's what I experienced when I was brought up and socialized in Nepal. That's what most of the women are still facing, that even in workspaces, they have not been paid equally. People have assumption, or employers have assumption, that just because she is a woman, she will get married off soon, and then she will have children's, and then she cannot actually contribute. And that's not the case. We have seen women from low jobs such as bricks collection and construction, that they are doing exactly same amount of work as men, and then they also hold responsibility for their children, for their home responsibility. So it's a double and triple roles for women, and they have been doing well, yet it is not recognized. And that's where my respondents, my participants critique that it's not just culture. We can't just rally about cultural assimilation and traditional and local context. We need to question, we need to challenge these cultures. And how they can be possible is the one who has been living with or who has been socializing with that culture can only question things, not like the frameworks or the practices that Western society bring along, since social work in Nepal is an imported context, imported discipline. Whatever the West has brought up, that cannot be used, that cannot be done, that cannot be practiced. And this has been challenging. And those recipients were familiar of the Western imported social work notion. And what they said is like, we need to move beyond the dialogues. We are just focusing on the dialogues. We need to practice. And some of them have really gone beyond of the cultural context. For example, we have the notion of saying Didi, as in big sister. So when this Didi as a cultural assumption or cultural tradition, how can this be taken up? How can this be taken beyond that, the relationship only? That's the space where they can actually connect, where they can share the feelings. And as female social workers, they have been respected as Didi, where women, where the vulnerable women, where they are working, they are now exchanging their ideas, they are opening up. My participant also expressed that we have a culture of having a veil to cover our face, generally for the women, married women. And when they were trying to have that empowerment skills or trainings, that kumto or that veil really disturbed on how they were learning, how quickly they were learning, because there were some constraints. And later, it took like 2 or 3 years. The women themselves now tried to take off their veil during the empowerment session or the training session. But back home, they were still following that. So how saying empowerment and doing empowerment is a different thing. It's so easy to say that you can just take off your veil, but those traditions have been ingrained throughout. They have seen their grandmothers, they have seen their mothers, they have seen their sisters, and now they can't just open up themselves. We need time, and as this debate goes on, we need to learn how they are doing that. We need to respect that. We need to hear that, and that's what my research resulted, where you need to question, we need to respond to the needs of Nepali women, we need to solidify women's struggle through the voices of social workers, female social workers, as in from my perspective, from my research, and we need to go and beyond mainstream decolonizing social worker. It's not just about assimilating culture, as I said earlier, it's about questioning, it's about critiquing, it's about challenging the culture itself. And as for me, I am trying to do that. I do make decisions by myself, not just because I'm outside of my country, but now that I have realized what my capabilities are. We also need to know our capabilities as a woman. And I have seen a lot of women, even in academia or in practice, how fabulous they have been doing and what are their aspirations to do that. And that's what my research talked, expressed, represented. And I think that was one of the transformative research for myself, because that was me also questioning my own culture. And I think my thesis was received well. And as for my plan for how I'm going to use my bursary, there is going to be a social work conference in Kenya. I am planning to submit my abstract. And then possibly last year also, before getting the Bursary, I went to the conference, and I was amazed on how audience received my thesis, my concepts, and that was so lovely. And I think I would represent my thesis as well as ITRC support in that conference as well. And I have already submitted 2 journal articles, and they are in the review process. So yes, that's all from my side. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
That's great.
Absolutely. That was so powerful and so insightful, the work that, those findings and conclusions that you came to from the work. So sorry, I was writing notes down because I thought that was just, that really blew my mind, because the question I was going to ask you is what surprised you, but it sounds like you've already shared that there in terms of what surprised you, and I really appreciated your take on decolonisation through a Western lens, and it just being important that it's not a global or universal constructed way, but we use it that way, don't we? We use it in our language and discussion. Any other questions, comments from the audience for Pratiksha?
I just love the passion that your whole PhD still, it's like, this is what, like it's fantastic. I think by the end of mine, I wasn't so passionate about it, but no,
I'm still living my PhD journey. I'm not over yet.
it's fantastic. Well done.
Thank you, Anis. Yes, Catherine, I think I see you.
Yeah, hi Pratiksha, how are you?
Hi.
Yeah, wonderful presentation, and as you say, it's a life journey, particularly for yourself when you're a kind of insider in the research in lots of ways. So, yeah, I'm not sure I have a question, but I really like the way you explore the nuances for women in cultures where where empowerment takes on a whole different kind of lens. And having just been traveling in Morocco and being blown away by the culture there, but also being aware of the issues for women, yeah, so I'm sorry if it's an incoherent response, but I'm just I think it's really important to, as you have done, explore the nuances in and the local contextual cultural issues in decolonising, and as you say, they take on a different texture in each different location, and that. I guess we have to mainly focus on the women in the situation and listen to them very carefully about how these processes are impacting upon them each day in different ways. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And by the way, with Sydney, tell us more about your move to Sydney.
So yeah, it's been actually a month that we moved here, and I have joined one of the colleges here, Sydney Met, and I'm working as a curriculum developer and governance support officer.
Fantastic.
So possibly
Yes.
I will be moving to academic life soon within the same college. Let's hope everything goes well. And I miss university environment in a way.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Great to hear. Yeah. Congratulations.
I think that it was just fantastic, Pratiksha, and a great, probably a question too, just in terms of impact beyond academic impact, how do you think you might progress your findings to help Nepali women in this way through policy briefs or other types of engagement with government? Or
are you talking about from my thesis perspective? Yeah, okay. So it's more focused on practice approach, as I have created a model where these nuances are fitted into that model. And I think unless you resolve your practice, I don't think you can evolve your education, since this is an imported concept as a social work. So unless you refine your own local context, I don't think you can fully address the educational sector as well. And these practitioners with whom I've spoken with, they were all from research background. They were doing as a practitioner, they were also a researcher, they were also academic. So I think I have collaborated all the voices that is needed in social work to be reformed from women's perspective. So I think that would be a I think umbrella. If they are they will be willing to look at my thesis, I think they will get an idea on how I have also integrated some of the academic perspective, how they are challenging the curriculum itself from their own personal efforts, and there have been a lot of immense effort from their personal side, but it's just the policy or the association that we have in Nepal. It's not, it doesn't formally sit with law, formally sit with the legal body. So I think that's where the practitioners can actually raise their concerns, because social work is more about practice, and then that will yield the theory or maybe frameworks in later part of the life. I think that's where I'm sticking with. I think that helps them to see the initial stage of what I'm doing or what we can do in terms of social work and Nepali women.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And our last presenter is Dilip. So Dilip is presenting on part of his PhD, which is titled Constructing Disaster and Social Work Perspectives in Nepal. Over to you, Dilip.
Hello everyone. I think I should share my slide first. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dilip Karki, ongoing PhD student for social work at ITRC. As Pratiksha said, I have also not used the Bursary fund yet, but definitely I'm gonna use this one because at the previous time, so I do not have a very much, good experience. That is why, so things change differently in my case. So for now, I have almost read three papers under reviewed by supervisor, and I have also planning to submit for international conference, which is going to happen in Kenya. So probably I'm gonna use that bursary fund for those international exposures and for making my journal so open access sort of things. So this I'm definitely gonna use in that purpose. So it's a kind of I'm saving that fund for purpose. So since I haven't used my bursary fund yet, so I'm thinking to present what I have done and what I have found from this research. So starting at this presentations is so disasters and its impact, research question, positionality, method, and then the models which I have developed under the study. So before this research, as a general, in my perspective, so I haven't understand disaster holistically. So my understanding of disaster, social work, and Nepal was pretty much basic. So without backing any evidently. So I used to say that Nepal is one of the disaster-prone country. That's all. So that is all about through my experience with every years of living within the country. But once I started this journey, I dig it out of very profound evident backing my arguments now. So which you can all of you can see here. So how Nepal is badly wounded by the disasters, And so it was just recorded 22 in 1900, first decade of the 1900. But so by the end of the century, so it recorded over 4,000 per decade, the natural disasters and different sort of impact in between 1971 and 2012. But when you see, when you see the very recent data, less than a decade, starting from 2013, so this natural disaster incidence in Nepal has soared dramatically, and then so within in a less than a decade period, over 23 natural disaster incident was recorded within the country, claiming the life of over 12,000. And if you see the damage caused by this natural disaster in terms of uh, household scenario, so it's over millions, so that includes partially and complete damage, and the economic loss made by all those natural disaster is over 1200 billions Nepalese rupees. So why I'm why I'm presenting this facts and figure is to make you all understand that Nepal is one of the disaster prone country, and which was the first contextual foundation for undertaking this research in context of Nepal. So, and also the reason behind presenting this one is since Nepal has a diverse professions, and still yet none of the research has been undertaken, comprehensive research has been undertaken in terms of disaster and social work perspectives. So this is the contextual foundation for undertaking this research study. And pretty much this is the research questions which this research will answer. And it was about what social workers' understanding of natural disaster and its impact to daily life of the peoples, and how the idea of disasters and social work can be integrated into social work pedagogy and praxis. And for that one, what morals that will inform the educations and practice for social work and disasters. So that was the research questions. And for the positionality, my positionality was quite diverse, I would say. And what I believe about positionality is it's my standpoint, which comes from ontological and epistemological perspectives. And looking back to my careers in terms of social work, disasters, especially the natural disaster, and social work, natural disasters. So I found myself as a victims of earthquake in 2015, and even before then that period. So I was a social work student, and still I am a social work student from 2010 onwards. So been academician for a couple of years, and also disaster practitioner in context of Nepal. So all in all, I find myself, and now for researchers, all in all, I find myself as a researcher and to be researched in context of social work and natural disaster. So as like research questions, this is all about the aim, and for this entire research study, the aim that I have developed was to understand Nepali social worker perspectives on natural disaster, and the ways it has impacted on people's life, people's daily life in context of Nepal. And it tried to also explore the ways how the social work social work and natural disaster can be integrated in pedagogy and praxis. And also for that one, develop a comprehensive models based on the participants' selections criteria that will inform the education, practice, and research, and also contribute in the meantime for community disaster resilience building process in future. So for this study, I have used a case study, multiple case study research design underneath qualitative research, because it helps me to understand the phenomena in real life context, and also helps me to incorporate the evidence to justify my research questions and objective, and also helps to build a model of social work and natural disaster. And I use constructivist research paradigm because it rejects the natural claim about knowledge and reality, and believe that knowledge and reality are co-created. And in this research context, participants and I combinedly develop all those models as well as findings in a way I can say that. And for that one, so I use the multi-participants. So the participants for this research was in a 3 group. So one is Nepali social workers and academicians, and other one is practitioner, and other one is disaster. For selection of all those participants group, I have developed inclusion criteria for each participants group, and those participants who meet that inclusion criteria only be selected and interviewed. And for that one, for participant identification process, so I use the snowball sampling, and then so I use the semi-structural interview guide and collect the data. And the collected data were multi-stage, coded and analyzing in a multiple stage using a constant comparative method underneath grounded theory. So, and here is the model. So it is not finalized yet, it's still under supervisor's review, and then so I'm still receiving the feedbacks from supervisors. So basically this model is collective integrations of all participants experience and then their perspectives while collecting the data process. And so what these models talks about is collectively these models indicate that existing social work program or discipline in Nepal have a systemic and structural and institutional gaps, and so not being explored disaster and social work in context of Nepal. So that first need to be a transform, and for that this interrelated components of the model not only so advocate for these transformations based on the contextual and grounded with the context and disaster inform, but it also provides the ways how academic practice and research setup should be developed. And for that one, this research I would advise or suggest or inform all of social work and disasters differently here. But one more important thing I need to highlight before jumping to the models components is this is still not the rigid models that everyone should align in even in the future. So it is the initial process, and it has to go miles for the purpose that I am intending to develop in context of Nepal related to disaster and social work. So what this model talks about then. So let's have a look here. Now, in context of education components only, so the findings of the research was Nepali social work education is not disaster informed, neither it has been recognized by the academic institutions, neither by the government or the different development sectors or actors or stakeholders. So in that context, also the pretty much things has been contributed because of the West-centric educations of Nepal and lack of expertise in context of disaster and social work. Only in few university disaster, only 1 or 2 components were included there as an elective course, but not recognized by many universities and academic institutions in that context. So for this one, so this research imagines, these models imagine that Nepali social work and disaster curriculum or education should be reformed differently. And for that one, so it should, these models suggest that, so the first component that need to be developed is underneath transformative educations, because it is the component which will align social work and disasters in terms of justice, fairness, right-based approach sort of things. And also, obviously, the curriculum context should be contextualized, grounded with the locals' experience and country-specific context, then simply follow the borrowed concept. And it also talks about some pedagogy, and that for that one, the pedagogy should be transformative, and it should include a lot of things which social workers which need to be adapted for train the social worker students in terms of disasters. For example, fieldwork, disaster related fieldwork, a seminar, exposure, training sort of things should be included. And for also the entire programmatic and so implementation part should be lead by the experts, and also academic environment, or so entire education environment should be progressive. So this is how a model of educations in terms of disaster and social work should be in context of Nepal. This is how this model inform Nepali social work educations. And in terms of practice, this model showcase how the Nepali social work disaster practitioners have contributed in terms of different disaster contexts and within the country. And if I have to summarize their contributions in terms of Nepal and Nepal, so their contributions are related to empowerment and awareness building, and their contributions are related to were related to a safety center, development driven and justice oriented. And all of these can inform the educations as well, inform to reform the educations. And this can be their learning and their contributions in terms of disaster practice can also inform research, and it provides the context and experience. What are the things that need to be explored more, or in terms of knowledge building? So for these contributions of Nepali social workers, so they have pretty much adopted a multiple roles as well as different process. For example, community-based and community-led process was pretty much used by Nepali social worker underneath humanitarian and development organizations till now. And the roles that they have played was from very basic to policy levels. For example, social mobilizer, emergency aid providers, as well as program managers or developers. So sort of things are pretty much done, but still there has not been any research in social work and disaster. So these things is not being constructed until the moment. So that is why social work educations, as well as even for the research context, Nepali social work has yet to develop what sort of approach that need to be developed to explore those kind of research. And for that one, this research informs so context, worldview, techniques, and synergy. So that is pretty much provides comprehensive frameworks how Nepali social work research should be guided in terms of exploring disaster and social work. For that, in terms of context, it says Nepali social work should understand the contextual foundations of disaster and social work, and it should try to explore disaster in a holistic manner. So that means disaster type, people's attitudes, impact patterns, marginalization context, indigenous context, as well as governance perspectives. And for that one, this research this model try to connect those research of disaster and social work through the lens of indigenous and multidisciplinary. So that is how knowledge can be broadened in a different level, so can inform again to the providing a direction to the practice, as well as inform the education for reform. And for that one, in a techniques, so this model advised Nepali social work and disaster research underneath community-based and community-driven participatory research as well as action research. Ultimately, that will connect this research output to actions to rebuild disaster resilient community in the futures as well as for the synergy, and it should be in relations to education, practice, governance, as well as different development sectors as well as actors. So this interrelated model, so in one way is not standing here for one, so it is quite contributing to each of the components here. And so with this within the implications of this model, so I imagine that so this will develop the research cultures in social work and disasters in context of Nepal, as well as it will definitely improve improve for the foundational development of social work educations and practice. At the end, I hope it will also contribute to support the resilience building. And yeah, this is all about my research. So it is not yet completed. So hopefully in coming few more months, so I will wrap this up. And so we'll publish a couple of papers. 3 papers have under review process and from my supervisors. And then so once I will get everything done, then yeah, I will be done from the university as well as. And so I really want to thank ITRC because for this opportunity as well as ITRC Bursary, but unfortunately I wanted to use that one and to use that fund, but due to some circumstances I could not able to make that happen. But now I'm in a position where I can represent ITRC in a globally skills in coming months and futures, because the seminar which I'm planning to visit or planning to present my research papers will be happens in 2026 June. I think by that time my candidature would be expired, so I will have submit all my research journey to the university. And so I will also use that fund definitely for making my research publications as open access to the peer review journal as well. So that's how I will represent for now, but so definitely in future I will remember ITRC. So, and if I can explore many other things, I will definitely do so as well. Thank you, everyone. That is all from my side.
Very much, Dilip. I might get you to stop sharing the screen there. Wow, and it was great, that model, you know, and to have mapped the entire ecology, if you like, of disaster and responses to it is quite a significant undertaking. And I'm glad to hear that you can see light at the end of the tunnel. There's an end coming hopefully soon for you in terms of getting those papers together and getting your thesis out there. I'll quickly open up. Catherine, I've got a question. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Dilip. It's such fascinating research, and I can see resonances for many countries, including Australia, of course. But I was particularly interested in the ways research can, you know, be informed by Indigenous perspectives on disaster recovery, but also disaster prevention. So over in Durham, where I'm sort of currently based, I've met up with an Indigenous ecologist and her partner who do fire stick farming, you know, management, and so this is very much about disaster prevention in terms of fire. And there are so many similarities between Aboriginal techniques of coal burning and also First Nations American techniques of coal burning as well. Are there some Nepalese Indigenous practices that help with disaster prevention that can be, you know, used in practice?
Yes, definitely. since the country holds over 100 different caste groups, so they have their own practice systems, and people have been practicing disasters preventions, even preparedness. Their preparedness styles are quite different, so even based on some caste systems. So yeah, I would say that in Nepal, within the geographical regions, there are different practice systems for disaster prevention. For example, in the Himalayan regions, so where people used to construct their house by using the stone mud masonry up to the top level of their house. But whenever it comes to the middle hill or mountain regions, their practice system for disaster prevention is quite different than that one. The use of local materials and then household structure is quite different. They make their house a little bit lighter and make use of wood instead of bricks or stones. But when you come down to the plain area in that regions, so people's preference for household construction is quite different. They also use the bamboo sort of things, and they build the house foundations and left the ground floor open because disasters patterns are also different in all three regions. For example, in hilly regions, due to the snowy glacier sort of things, people used to build their house using stone up to the roof levels. That gives them a little bit warm, that makes warm. In mountain regions, peoples are quite bit more impacted by the landslide, so that is how they make their house quite different styles. And in the plain areas, in the ground area, so flood is the main disaster. So that is how people make their house differently and make their foundations. They build their house and leaving the ground floor empty. If some floods has happened, then they can be safe. So that is how peoples have practiced in a region wise. Despite these reasons, Nepal also has a different layers of practice systems based on the indigenous perspectives. So yeah, so I would say that Nepalese indigenous practice, regional best practice has a different things which they have been adopting, they have been practicing since long to prevent prevent disasters or prevent impact from disasters within the country. Yeah.
Thanks, Dilip. That's great.
Thanks, Catherine.
Wonderful. And it brings us right up to the hour. Sorry, Harriet, I just saw your hand up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just realised the time as well. It's more of a comment, really. That was a great presentation, Dilip. Thank you so much, and it's so good to see you've come this far. I think I can see so many synergies between your work and Pratiksha's work as well. And you don't use the word decolonizing practice or using a decolonial approach, but I think that's really what you're suggesting here as well. I think the two of you going to Kenya, you're going to be a powerhouse going there together and delivering these two papers. So I'm excited to hear how that goes. So congratulations to both of you. And of course, congratulations to Faval as well for your wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Harriet.
Wonderful. So on that note, on the stroke of 5, we'll wrap it up. On Monday afternoon, we have our last recipient, Xiao Tuxworth, will be presenting late in the afternoon at about 4 p.m. If you're free, it'd be wonderful if you come along and support Xiao and hear about her work. But look, have a great evening, everybody, and very much thank you to our presenters. And thanks for coming along. See you then.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.